They don't tell you this, but not every open door is from God. Some doors are opened by design, built to look like blessing, so you'll walk through them without ever asking who built them or why they open so easily. Because the enemy doesn't usually attack your faith directly. That approach is too obvious, and you'd recognize it in seconds. Instead, he attacks your finances because he knows that if he can get inside your wallet, he can eventually get inside your worship. That's why some of the most dangerous doors you'll ever face won't come dressed as temptation, they'll come dressed as opportunity. A contract that lands at the perfect moment. A partnership that promises to solve every problem you've been praying about. An investment that looks like the exact answer you've been asking heaven for. And if you've been sensing that something about a proposal in front of you doesn't sit right, even though everything on paper looks perfect, that unease may not be fear talking. It may be discernment trying to get your attention before your signature makes it too late. Now, let's uncover the 6 business proposals you must never accept, no matter how good they look on the surface, and no matter how badly you want them to be real. And before we go any further, understand this. None of these 6 signs mean the business world itself is your enemy, and none of them mean God is against ambition, growth, or increase. He is the one who gave you the ability to build in the first place. What he's against is you building something profitable on a foundation he never laid, because a structure without his foundation eventually cracks under its own weight, no matter how impressive it looked going up. So hold these 6 signs the way you'd hold a filter, not a fear. They're not meant to make you suspicious of every opportunity that crosses your path. They're meant to make you discerning enough to recognize the handful that were never meant to reach your hands in the first place. Number 1. Any proposal that promises wealth faster than wisdom can explain. When a deal moves too quickly for your spirit to process, that speed is not a blessing. It's a warning sign wearing a business suit. Real growth has a rhythm to it. It's built brick by brick, season by season, decision by decision. But the enemy loves to counterfeit blessing with speed, because speed skips the one step that protects you most, the step where you actually stop and seek God before you move. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." That verse isn't against ambition, and it isn't against growth. It's against shortcuts that promise the destination without requiring the journey. Think of the story of Achan in the book of Joshua. Israel had just won a miraculous, supernatural victory at Jericho, and God gave one clear instruction through Joshua: take nothing from what has been set apart, because it belongs to the Lord. But Achan saw silver, gold, and a beautiful garment among the plunder, and he took it in secret, convinced that no one would know and that it would quietly enrich him. Instead, that hidden gain brought defeat and death to an entire camp. His shortcut didn't just cost him, it cost everyone standing near him. That's exactly what a rushed, pressured deal can do in your life today. It doesn't just risk your money, it risks your family, your reputation, and everyone connected to your calling. So when a proposal pressures you with phrases like, "This offer won't last past today," or "You have to decide right now or lose it forever," slow down before you sign anything. God is never in that much of a hurry to bless the people he loves. Number 2. Any proposal that asks you to decide without godly counsel. The enemy doesn't want you talking to anyone wise before you sign, because he knows wisdom exposes what excitement conveniently hides. He wants you isolated in the decision, cut off from anyone who might ask the one question you're avoiding, because isolation is where deception grows strongest and fastest. A proposal that discourages you from praying about it, from talking to your spouse, your pastor, a mentor, or someone spiritually mature in your life, is a proposal that already knows it cannot survive scrutiny. Proverbs 15:22 says plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. That's not a polite suggestion tucked into an old book. It's a pattern woven through all of Scripture. Every time God moved someone into a new season of provision, he surrounded them with confirmation, with community, with people who could speak into the decision, never with secrecy. If a deal only works when nobody else gets to weigh in on it, that silence itself is the first red flag, long before the fine print ever becomes one. Good opportunities can survive a second opinion without falling apart. Deceptive ones cannot survive daylight. So before you accept anything that reshapes your finances, your time, or your future, bring it into the light on purpose. Say it out loud to someone you trust. What genuinely thrives in secrecy rarely belongs to God, and what belongs to God was never afraid of being seen. Number 3. Any proposal that requires you to partner deeply with people whose character you already know conflicts with yours. This one is subtle, because the numbers can look absolutely incredible, while the character standing behind those numbers is already compromised. Scripture doesn't instruct you to avoid every unbeliever in business, and it doesn't ask you to only work with people who think exactly like you. But it does warn you about becoming so bound to someone that their integrity, or their lack of it, becomes your exposure. 2 Corinthians 6:14 says, "Do not be unequally yoked together, for what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness, and what communion has light with darkness?" A yoke means you move together, pull together, and answer for the same direction. If the person or company you're about to partner with regularly cuts corners, misleads clients, or treats people as disposable when it's convenient, that pattern doesn't stay neatly contained to them alone. Eventually, you're pulled by the very same yoke into the very same pit, even if you personally never intended to go there. You don't need every business partner to share your exact faith or your denomination, but you absolutely need every partner to share your integrity. If your spirit already senses that someone's character doesn't align with how you want to be known in this world, that discomfort isn't judgmental or unkind, it's protective. Don't ignore what discernment already told you quietly, long before the contract tried to tell you something louder. And notice something about numbers 1 through 3. None of them require a stranger to warn you. Your own spirit already knows the difference between a rushed door and a right one, between silence and secrecy, between a partner who sharpens you and one who slowly dulls your integrity. The problem was never a lack of information. It was ignoring the information you already had the moment excitement walked into the room. Number 4. Any proposal that steals your peace the very moment you actually pray about it. This is the sign most people override completely, because the numbers on the page look far too good to reasonably walk away from. But peace was never just a passing feeling to be managed or talked away. It's a signal, and it's meant to be trusted. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace." The original word used there carries the picture of an umpire, someone whose call decides what stands and what doesn't. When you bring a decision honestly before God, and your spirit stays unsettled no matter how many times you try to talk yourself back into it, that unrest is the umpire making its ruling in real time. You can rationalize a bad deal with pure logic, with spreadsheets, with projections that all point in your favor. But you cannot logically rationalize away a genuine lack of peace, no matter how hard you try. Some of the most costly mistakes recorded in Scripture happened when people ignored an unsettled spirit simply because the opportunity in front of them looked too promising and too timely to pass up. If every single time you think about signing your name, something inside you tightens instead of settles, that isn't ordinary nerves before a big decision. That's your spirit actively trying to protect you from something your natural eyes cannot see yet. Number 5. Any proposal wrapped in flattery that appeals directly to your pride or your ambition. Deception rarely announces itself honestly at the door. Almost every time, it compliments you first. It tells you how brilliant your vision is, how rare your talent is, how this specific deal was made for someone exactly like you. Flattery is engineered to lower your guard by feeding the one part of you that quietly wants to be seen, admired, and validated. Think of Judas Iscariot. He didn't stumble into betrayal by pure accident or bad luck. He was offered 30 pieces of silver, a price that fed both greed and a hidden desire for relevance among the religious leaders of his day. And Matthew 26:14-16 records exactly how quickly that offer moved from a quiet proposal into a signed agreement once ambition was allowed to take the wheel. The tragedy wasn't only the money changing hands, it was how easily flattery, paired with financial gain, was able to override discernment that should have stopped him long before that moment. When someone praises your potential, in the very same breath they're asking for your trust, your resources, or your name, pause right there. Genuine opportunity from God never needs to inflate your ego in order to earn your signature. It simply needs your obedience. Number 6. Any proposal that asks you to compromise one boundary, just this one time. This is arguably the most dangerous sign of all, because it almost never presents itself honestly as a pattern. It always presents itself as a small, forgivable exception. Just this once, exaggerate the numbers on the proposal. Just this once, keep a portion of it quietly off the books. Just this once, say yes to something you already told God, in an honest prayer, that you would never do again. Remember Gehazi, the servant of the prophet Elisha. When Naaman was miraculously healed and offered Elisha a generous, well-earned gift in gratitude, Elisha firmly refused it because the miracle was never for sale and was never his to profit from. But Gehazi ran after Naaman in secret, invented a convenient lie about why he suddenly needed silver and garments, and accepted exactly what his own master had already turned down in front of him. 2 Kings chapter 5 describes plainly what followed that decision. The compromise Gehazi thought was safely hidden did not stay hidden for long, and the consequence he carried out lasted the gain by far more than he ever imagined it would. One quiet, seemingly harmless exception cost him more than that entire deal was ever worth. That's exactly what just this once always does to a person of integrity. It never asks you to abandon everything you stand for all at once. It only asks you to quietly lend it out temporarily, and integrity has a way of rarely coming back the same way it left your hands. And here's the part that surprises most people once they finally understand it. A dangerous proposal doesn't usually announce itself with only one of these 6 signs. It stacks them quietly, that one on top of another, hoping you'll only notice the first one and dismiss the rest as unrelated coincidence. The urgency makes the isolation feel reasonable. The isolation makes the flattery feel personal. The flattery makes the unsettled peace feel like ordinary nerves instead of a warning. That's exactly how discernment gets talked out of the room, not by one loud lie, but by several quiet ones agreeing with each other. So if you find 2 or 3 of these 6 signs showing up around the same deal, that isn't bad luck. That's confirmation stacking on top of confirmation, and it deserves your full attention before it deserves your signature. If any of these 6 signs are showing up right now around a proposal sitting in front of you, that discomfort you feel in your gut isn't weakness, and it isn't some irrational fear of success trying to hold you back. It's discernment, doing exactly what it was designed by God to do inside you. Not every deal that looks like provision actually is provision. Some deals are tests disguised carefully as opportunities, quietly checking whether you'll trust God's timing more than you trust a tempting, well-dressed offer sitting on the table. And here's what matters most in all of this. Saying no to the wrong door doesn't mean you're being left behind while everyone else moves forward. It means you're being protected from a counterfeit version of blessing that would have cost you far more in the long run than it ever honestly paid you up front. The right door, the one actually built by God for you, will still open in its own time. It just won't need flattery, secrecy, urgency, or pressure to get you to walk through it. It will come with peace, already attached to it, from the very first conversation. So before you sign anything, before you shake hands on anything, before you let excitement talk louder than discernment, slow down and ask God the one question most people conveniently skip. Not can this make me money, but does this align with who you're actually building me to be? Because a proposal can be genuinely profitable on paper and still be poison to your purpose underneath it. and a painful delay can look and feel like loss in the moment, while actually being God's deliverance in disguise. You weren't given discernment by accident, and you weren't given it just to admire it. You were given it because not everyone offering you a seat at their table actually wants to see you succeed. Some people only want access to your name, your resources, your reputation, or your reach, and they're counting on flattery to get it before you notice. Guard what God gave you the wisdom to see, even when walking away is genuinely costly, and even when everyone around you thinks you're making a mistake by saying no. And if you're honest with yourself right now, you can probably already name the proposal this message was for. Maybe it's sitting in your inbox unanswered. Maybe it's a conversation you keep putting off, because saying yes feels easier than explaining why you hesitated. Maybe it's a partnership everyone around you is excited about, except the part of you that keeps waking up uneasy at 3 a.m. Whatever it is, don't mistake your hesitation for lack of faith. Sometimes the most faithful thing you can do isn't stepping forward, it's standing still long enough to hear whether God actually sent this or whether something else simply dressed itself up to look like him. Provision that cost you your peace was never provision to begin with. It was a bill disguised as a blessing, and you were never meant to pay it, no matter how convincing the invoice looked. Drop "I discern" in the comments if this word just confirmed something you were already quietly sensing about a deal in front of you. And make sure you subscribe, because the next time a proposal comes knocking, dressed as destiny, promising you everything you've been praying for, you'll already know exactly what to look for and exactly what to walk away from, long before you ever pick up a pen to sign.